The Las Vegas Raiders are starting to send a warning that feels different this time, because this does not look like empty offseason noise anymore. This looks like a team trying to become dangerous before anyone outside the building is ready to admit it. Clint Kubiak has walked into a messy situation and started turning it into a real plan. Kirk Cousins gives the offense a steady hand. Fernando Mendoza brings the future into the room. Ashton Jeanty gives this team a runner who can change the whole mood of a drive. And on defense, Max Crosby is still the name nobody wants to deal with when the lights turn on. But here's the twist. The loudest part of this Raiders story is not one move. It is how many small signs are starting to hit at the same time. Jack Besh is not being treated like a forgotten young receiver. Jermud McCoy is already making people watch his movement instead of just talking about his knee. Eric Stokes gives the secondary a real piece to lean on. Brock Bowers still feels like the matchup problem every defense has to circle first. Put all of that together, and suddenly this team does not feel random. It feels like the Raiders are building pressure from every side. That is why these OTA updates matter more than people think. Nobody wins games in May, but teams do reveal what they believe in. The Raiders believe they can run the ball with power, protect their quarterback better, make Mendoza grow without forcing it, and let Crosby lead a defense that has more speed behind him. The first real question is sitting right in the middle of everything. If Cousins, Mendoza, and O'Connell all keep pushing each other, then this quarterback room becomes more than a headline. It becomes the first real test of whether this new Raiders plan is built to last. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Raiders and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. The first real pressure point for the Raiders is not the defense, not the hype, and not the outside noise. It is the quarterback room. Kirk Cousins is the veteran who knows how to keep a huddle calm when the play clock starts squeezing. Fernando Mendoza is the rookie with the big future attached to his name. Aiden O'Connell is still sitting there with enough game experience to make every practice rep matter. That mix sounds simple from far away, but inside the building, it turns every throw into a message. One mistake can shift the talk. One sharp drive can raise the heat. What makes this so interesting is that nobody has to force the story too fast. Cousins does not need to prove he belongs in May. His job is to run the offense clean, protect the ball, and give Clint Kubiak a steady bridge while the younger passer grows. Mendoza does not need to look like a finished star right now either. He needs to stack good days, handle the call sheet, move with timing under center, and show the coaches that the game is slowing down for him. That is where the real clues live, not in one deep throw that goes viral, but in the boring details that separate a plan from panic. The Raiders need order first, fireworks later, and that is where O'Connell keeps the whole room honest. He is not the shiny new face, and he is not the big veteran name, but he can still make the coaches think hard if he protects the offense and responds well to pressure. This is why the Raiders' quarterback battle is bigger than a depth chart. It tells us whether this new staff is patient, sharp, and serious. But even the cleanest quarterback plan falls apart if the pocket caves in and the run game stays stuck. That puts the spotlight right where the next piece of this story begins, on Ashton Jeanty, the blocking in front of him, and the offensive identity the Raiders are trying to build before anyone believes it fully. The part nobody should miss about Ashton Jeanty is this. His rookie year was not quiet because he lacked force. It looked harder because he kept meeting trouble before the play had room to breathe. Too many runs turned into contact before he could press the lane, plant his foot, and punish the defense. That changes the way a back looks on film. It makes every gain feel like a fight. And still, Jeanty kept dragging yards out of broken looks, which tells you why the Raiders are not treating him like a normal young runner. That is the hidden warning in this whole story. That is why the names in front of him matter so much now. Tyler Linderbaum was not added just to make the depth chart look clean. He was brought in to settle the middle, help the calls, and give this run game a real starting point. Colton Miller, Jackson Powers Johnson, DJ Glaze. Spencer Burford, Charles Grant, Caleb Rogers, and Trey Zune, the third, all become part of the same question. Can this group move together, stay firm, and let Jeanty reach the second level without taking punishment right away? If they do, the whole offense breathes differently. That is where good teams steal yards before the crowd even notices and points. Kirk Cousins gets easier throws. Fernando Mendoza gets a safer future. Clint Kubiak gets the kind of balance his system needs. But the twist is that Jeanty might not have to carry every hard snap alone. Mike Washington Jr. brings another physical runner into the room. Dylan Laub gives them a change of pace option. Roman Hemby is a rookie trying to fight his way into the picture. Still, the center of the plan is obvious. The Raiders want Jeanty to be the heartbeat, not a side piece. If the blocking finally catches up to his talent, this offense stops looking stuck and starts looking dangerous. And once defenses have to lean forward to slow him down, the next opening might belong to Jack Besh, and a receiver room nobody is fully respecting yet. The receiver room is where the Raiders story gets sneaky, because Jack Besh is not walking around like a forgotten second-year target. He is starting to feel like the name coaches keep circling when the big headlines look somewhere else. Everybody talks about Brock Bowers first, and they should, because he bends coverages without needing noise. But a passing game cannot survive on one matchup problem forever. Somebody has to win the dirty space, take contact, sit in windows, and make the quarterback trust the throw before it leaves his hand. That is where Besh becomes interesting. He does not need to become the loudest receiver on the roster to change the offense. He needs to become useful on the snaps that keep drives alive. Jalen Naylor brings speed and a real connection to this new setup. Trey Tucker can stress a defense before the ball is even snapped. Dante Thornton Jr. still gives the room size and deep shot juice. Malik Benson is the rookie with speed that can flash early. Dereke Young, Chase Roberts, Jonathan Brady, Philip Dorsett II, Shedrick Jackson, and E.J. Williams Jr. are all fighting for space in a room where nothing feels promised. That is why the Besh buzz matters. It means he is not just waiting for a role. He is pushing toward one. The important part is how this fits the whole Raiders plan. If Kirk Cousins starts, he needs receivers who are where they are supposed to be. If Fernando Mendoza grows into the job later, he needs targets who make the game cleaner, not harder. Besh can become that kind of piece if this staff uses him with purpose. That kind of receiver can flip third down. And those snaps change games when margins get tight. Not flashy every snap. Not forced into fake hype. Just steady, tough, and trusted. And if the offense is finding hidden value at receiver, the defense might be finding something even bigger at corner, because Jermud McCoy is already turning a medical question into one of the most watched stories at Raiders practice. The defensive story turns sharp when Jermud McCoy enters the picture, because his name carries two feelings at once: hope and risk. The Raiders did not land him because the league forgot his talent. They landed him because the medical questions pushed a top-level corner into a place where bold teams start thinking differently. That is what makes his early OTA buzz so important. When a rookie corner with knee history moves well enough to make people stop and stare, it does not solve everything, but it changes the conversation around secondary. The key is not pretending McCoy is already finished. That would be lazy hype. The real story is how the Raiders are using him and what that says about their trust. If coaches are letting him move through different looks, test his feet, and handle practice work without looking limited, that matters. Eric Stokes gives this group a steady top corner. Darian Porter brings size and growth potential. Decamarion Richardson still has traits worth developing. Taron Johnson gives them a nickel answer when available. Jeremy Chin, Traden Stukes, Greedy Vance, Dalton Johnson, and Hezekiah Masses make the back end feel deeper than it did before. Suddenly, McCoy is not walking into a rescue mission. He is walking into competition. That is the part that should scare people a little. If McCoy gets healthy and settles in, the Raiders can stop patching holes and start matching receivers with real options. A corner room with length, speed, and actual pressure up front can make a defense feel different by September. but nobody should crown this too early. The knee still has to hold. The reps still have to stack. The speed still has to show when pads come on. For now, the Raiders have one simple reason to feel better than they did on draft weekend. McCoy looks alive in the plan. And if that corner spot starts rising, the loudest force on the defense is waiting behind it, because Max Crosby is not just rehabbing, he is preparing to drag the entire pass rush back into the spotlight. The Raiders' defense changes the moment Max Crosby starts looking like himself again, because everything behind him feels cleaner when number 98 is hunting. That is why this update carries weight. It is not about a workout clip or soft spring talk. It is about the heartbeat of the defense moving closer to full force. When Crosby is right, protection slides his way, quarterbacks speed up, and the rest of the front gets chances they do not get on normal Sundays. That is how one player can bend an entire game plan before kickoff. The Raiders did not spend this offseason waiting for one star to save everything. They gave Crosby help, and that matters. Kuripe brings power off the edge. Malcolm Koonce gives the rush another angle if he stays healthy and sharp. Kieran Crawford adds young juice to the room. Inside, Adam Butler, Benito Jones, J.J. Pegas, Tonka Hemingway, Jonah Laulu, and Thomas Booker are fighting to make the pocket uncomfortable before Crosby even gets there. That is the difference between a defense chasing plays and a defense forcing mistakes. If the middle holds, the edge becomes louder. If the edge wins, the secondary gets cleaner, throws to attack. That is how pressure becomes real belief fast. That is where the timing gets dangerous. Jermod McCoy needs pressure in front of him. Eric Stokes needs rushed decisions behind the line. Jeremy Chin needs quarterbacks guessing instead of sitting calm in the pocket. A healthy Crosby does not just raise the sack total. He raises the confidence of every defender wearing silver and black. Still, this cannot turn into blind celebration. The knee has to respond. Training camp has to confirm it. The first burst has to look real when pads come on. But if Crosby enters that stage with his fire still burning, the Raiders' defense stops feeling like a hope story and starts feeling like a problem. And that brings us to the bigger debate nobody can avoid. Did the front office build this roster the right way, or are people missing the real plan? Now the Raiders story moves away from practice buzz and into the bigger question people keep circling. Did John Spytek build this roster the right way, or are outsiders still looking at it too simply? That is where the debate gets real. Some people will point at one signing and try to call it the best move. Others will point at one position and say the team did not do enough. But a roster is not judged by one headline. It is judged by whether the pieces fit together when pressure hits. That is why Eric Stokes matters, but he is not the whole answer. He gives the secondary a trusted corner with starting experience. Jalen Naylor matters too, because his speed gives the offense another way to stretch space and help Kirk Cousins work on schedule. But the move that might touch everything is Tyler Linderbaum. A strong center can change the run game, help Ashton Jeanty find cleaner lanes, protect the quarterback room, and give Clint Kubiak the control he needs to call this offense with confidence. That is not flashy. It is serious team building. And serious team building is what the Raiders have missed too often. The most important part is that Spytek, Kubiak, Tom Brady, and Mark Davis seem tied to the same idea. Build roles first, then let the stars rise from inside the system. Brock Bowers can be the matchup problem. Max Crosby can be the defensive fire. Jeanty can carry the identity. Fernando Mendoza can grow without being thrown into chaos before he is ready. That is the hidden conflict around this roster. If the plan works, people who mocked it will look late. If it fails, every cautious voice will get louder. And the Raiders already know the AFC West will not wait for them to figure it out. That is why the final question is bigger than OTA hype. Can this new direction survive when real games arrive and the division starts swinging back? The Raiders can enjoy the OTA noise, but the AFC West will not care about spring excitement when the season starts. That is the cold part of this whole story. The Kansas City Chiefs still carry the memory of a standard everybody measures against. The Denver Broncos are not waiting around. The Los Angeles Chargers are not stepping aside. Every team in this division has enough talent to punish a slow start, which means the Raiders do not get the luxury of being patient forever. The plan has to become real fast. That is why these three good signs matter. Jermod McCoy looking active gives the secondary a new kind of hope. Max Crosby, trending forward, gives the pass rush its soul back. Jack Bech pushing into the receiver conversation gives the offense another piece that can earn trust without needing the spotlight. None of that guarantees anything, and that is the point. OTA, praise is cheap if it dies when pads come on. The Raiders need these stories to survive the jump from shorts to contact, from practice fields to red zone snaps, from controlled drills to fourth quarter pressure. If they do, this roster starts to look less like a rebuild and more like a team with teeth. The final picture is bigger than one player. Ashton Genty has to power the identity. Kirk Cousins has to keep the offense steady. Fernando Mendoza has to grow without being rushed into chaos. Brock Bowers has to remain the matchup nobody solves. Eric Stokes has to help hold the back end together. And Clint Kubiak has to turn all of these moving pieces into one clean message. The Raiders did not win anything at OTAs, but they revealed something important. They have direction, they have pressure, they have young names, rising beside proven leaders. Now comes the hard part. Taking all this hope, walking into the toughest part of the schedule, and proving this is not another offseason story that disappears when real football begins. No more excuses, no more mystery. The next step has to show up on Sundays.